Hey, what's up, comic fans out there? I'm Troy the Max Extreme.
And I'm Ghost Hunter Dave.
And this is part 2 of our... Oh, shit. Fuck.
Do it again.
Here we go. What's up, comic fans out there? I'm Troy the Max Extreme.
And I'm Ghost Hunter Dave.
And this is part 2 of our Grant Morrison coverage of his Trinity All-Star Superman. Coming at you, in your face.
Welcome back, America, and our international friends. When did you put that on?
Well, Dave, when the intro was playing, went to that phone booth over there, gave it a whirl, came out, looking a bit like this.
Wonderful. You really like Superman.
I really do like Superman. And I really like this book.
I can see that. So you gonna wear that for the whole show?
Oh yeah, most def.
Alright, so stop 2 of our Grant Morrison flavor train.
Amazing way to put that.
Yes. Last week, if you tuned in, we covered Batman Arkham Asylum. Morrison's, maybe it's not his definitive take, but it's definitely his most notable take on Batman.
Sure.
And he wrote 60 goddamn issues of Batman, plus umpteen Justice League appearances, but, like, people remember Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the book.
And if you don't agree, at least it was his first.
It was his first. But you give that book to anybody, it will make an impact.
Yeah.
So, to get back on track,
right.
Today we are covering Man of Steel himself, Superman.
Yes.
And Troy, you're a wonderful Superman. Like you stepped right off the page.
Thanks, Dave.
As if drawn by Frank Quitely himself.
A weird, kind of half ugly looking person.
Just a kind of mushy. Just a slab of meat.
Yep. Slapped in some blue spandex.
A slab of meat just sculpted to look like a human being.
That's right. But if we could talk about the art for a minute.
I'm going to talk more about your physical appearance. No, I'm done. You're great. You're great Superman. I think you make a great Shazam as well, but, you know, are there any good Shazam books? Who knows? Let us know. Put it in the comments.
Down below. See what I did there?
I like it.
Great.
We brought the viewer into the madness.
If we could start with the art, as you said, like...
Let's start with, like, a little bit about the book.
All right.
So, let's start with the art.
Here's about the book. But, Grant Morrison does an amazing job in encompassing, like, everything lovable about Superman. Like, for a while, like, everyone tries to interpret him, like, in a different way. But, like, Grant Morrison does, like, an amazing job taking all past continuity and, like, forming it into the story in which he's just a hero for good. And it's...
just a booster.
It really is.
He's a wingman. He's the guy at the gym that you're sitting there, you're lifting, you're on the treadmill, whatever, and this dude's there every day, and he's like, you go get him. I work with a guy like that. I love him. He's great. Every time I see him. It's almost like he just acts on autopilot. Go get him. Get it done. Yeah. Get it, man.
You look amazing out there.
Yes. Just constantly boosting you.
Yeah.
That is Superman in this. Just fucking good. Just a force of good.
It really is. And it just shows it from, like, even the first issue on the cover, just Superman sitting there in the cloud, like, not a care in the world, because he's Superman.
This was a 12-issue miniseries that came out between 2005 2008. And that's because the artist, Frank Quitely, does a phenomenal job.
Oh boy, does he.
God, does he take his time.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a monthly book. You you wait for this.
Yeah.
And it pays off in spades.
Yeah.
It breaks Superman down to its core.
Yeah.
Like we said with Batman, it just strips the characters down to what makes them so timeless.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what this is. It's like a timeless collection of Superman tales.
Yeah.
Each issue, essentially a standalone story.
Yeah.
Which all build up. They tell a greater story in the grand scheme of things. But
right.
you could just pick up one and be like, oh, that was fun. You know?
Yeah, sure.
Each one has kind of a one-and-done adventure that he takes part in and then continues on his mission.
Yep.
Which brings us to the first issue, which is him, if you'd love to strike the pose here, just sitting on the cloud. He's got his knees up.
Like,
get your knees up. Stretch a little.
My balls are hurting, Dave.
How tight did your mom make those those briefs?
Very tight.
Plenty tight. I can tell. But, I mean, that image right there, it tells you everything you need to know about Morrison's take on Superman.
Yeah.
And it is not what you picture with Superman. Him posing, you want to do a pose, it'd look better coming from you here. Dramatically, bullets bouncing off, ow, and got my eye. As he just deflects them and constantly striking a pose, you know. This is a Superman that he's invincible. Nothing can hurt Superman.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
Why is he always flexing, you know? Like, he could be sleeping and bullets are bouncing off of him. So he gives us this take of a Superman that is just so comfortable, so chill, and relaxed, and just on his game of being Superman.
Right.
That, like, if you just, you catch him on a down moment, he's up there, sitting on a cloud, just like, not a care in the world.
Right.
He would never be tense.
No.
You know? He's never cold. He's never flinching. Like, Lex Luthor comes up and goes like that to him. He's not gonna recoil.
Yeah.
It's like, you shoot me in the fucking face and it's not gonna hurt me. Like, he's just so relaxed.
Yeah.
And that is his take on this.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's amazing. And, like, if we can just jump into the art, because, like, I wanted to do it for this whole show already. But, like, it did come out between 2005 and 2008, because Frank Quitely does do, like, an amazing job, but it does take him, like, forever to come out with something. But when it does, oh my god, does his art tell a story.
Yeah.
Like, going back and rereading this, like, just in certain parts where, like, for example, like, when Superman goes in, well, he's Clark Kent in this, but he goes into Lex Luthor's...
He usually is Clark Kent.
Yeah. When he
Very rarely is he Don Johnson.
When he goes into Lex Luthor's jail cell, and, like, he notices that, like, a wire is shorting out of something, and so he, like, stumbles to trip over it, and you don't really get it until, like, after he's already done this action.
He essentially saves Lex Luthor from getting electrocuted.
Yeah.
Because even though Luthor is his enemy, who's on death row, days away from getting the electric chair, Superman will not let him get electrocuted.
Right. And there's plenty of portions of this whole series where, like, the art is laid out like that, where it's telling its own story while the narrative is going on, and it's amazing. Frank Quitely is, like, the best artist at doing that.
Oh my god, he's awesome.
And even breaking it down in this is, like, one of the first books that you can believe that people may not know that Clark Kent is Superman, because he makes it out that Clark Kent, like, well, Superman isn't Clark Kent guise, like, is slumped over, his hair is different, he, like, makes his physique completely different, and when he's Superman, he, like,
I mean, it's like
up
the
and,
hunched over, hair down, kind of bumbling weirdo, and then, like, the just good posture, slick back confidence of Superman. It's a full transformation.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like,
it's
that's
not
the first
just
time I've ever
taking
seen
off the glasses type of thing. Yeah, you believe that people... Because throughout the whole thing, Lois Lane does not believe that he's Superman.
Right.
Like, in the first issue, he reveals that he's Superman, and she's just like, no, I know, Clark. Man, I mean, what makes this work is he just, like, he synthesizes the best of all the previous incarnations of Superman.
Right.
And all the interpretations and all the eras and everything, and just distills them into, like, the perfect version of Superman.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's a greatest hits, because it's not. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
But it's everything that makes Superman great without saying, like, that's too ridiculous. Or, like, you know, the Clark Kent dynamic. That would never work realistically.
Right.
He does it all. Like, we've said, he loves continuity. He doesn't shy away from anything. Like, he just brings it all in and makes it work.
Right.
In a way that it's just fun. And it works in the story, and it's fast-paced.
I've probably said it before, but I'm going to say it again. Like, it just makes you feel good.
It is.
Like, I'm on another podcast with my friend JT3K. I was explaining this book to him, and while I was explaining this book to him, I was smiling. And I was just glowing. Like, this book makes me feel so good reading it.
Yeah.
And, like, Superman is such a great guy. It's like... It makes you want to go out and just be a Superman.
Yes.
Which I'm trying to do right now.
Doing a bang-up job.
Like, it is...
He's Super Christ in this.
Yeah.
He is just as positive as possible.
Right.
Even in the face of death, which is what the main story arc of this is.
Yeah.
First issue, something happens to him where he's got a finite amount of time left on Earth.
Yeah.
We'll go into the plot line here, but, like, it's essentially the last days of Superman.
Right.
Where we'll go into the plot line right now. Why not? It's our show.
We can do what we want.
The book starts out, jumps into the action, where there's a super scientist, professor extraordinaire, Leo Quintum.
Yep.
Who is leader of Project. It's an acronym.
Yeah.
P.R. and so on.
Yeah.
No idea what it stands for.
It doesn't even say. Yeah.
On a mission to explore the sun, their shuttle malfunctions. Turns out Lex Luthor sent kind of like a human bomb along there with them. So, naturally, Superman comes to their rescue, defeats some bad guy, pulls him out of there, but in doing so, his cells absorb too much solar radiation.
Yeah. So, with doing so, like, his strength has become, like, multiple times stronger.
Yeah.
Like, they try to, like, go and test, like, his upper limits of strength, and they can't even find...
Pushes it through the roof.
And, like, with that, he becomes more creative, more curious, more intelligent. All of his super anything is, like...
Tenfold expanded.
Exactly.
Yep. But it's killing him.
Right.
But then he actually, I think he receives word from the future, that from a future Superman, one of many, that he's going to complete 12 impossible tasks before his death.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the book takes you then.
Right.
So then the next 12 issues is just all-out action adventure as the clock is ticking down, and each issue is just a fun one-off of him coming up against something and beating it in that Superman way. You know, all inspiring, all positive, just overcoming adversity.
Right.
And, you know, it's a typical Superman thing. That's what Superman does. And you tell someone that, and it's like, it's kind of boring. But it's not in this. Like, he's so wholesome and so good. You just can't help but, like, just love him and want to be better.
I know. And, like, Grant Morrison takes these bizarre Silver Age ideas and makes you just believe them.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like, sure, there's lizard people that live under the Earth's crust.
Yeah.
Of course there is. Or there's time-traveling super strongmen that will try to win the hearts of Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Why not? Going through all these labors, there's still, like, a huge plot line with him and Lex Luthor throughout the entire book. And that's, like, the main story up until he gets to the end.
But before you do that, talk about some of the, the standalone stories.
So, during Leo Quintum's little thing, they find a thing called the Subverse. It's a weird, complicated, like, underverse.
It's confusing in the sense that you don't have to understand it. You just have to acknowledge that it furthers the plot along.
But with that, like, some weird, bizarro creatures emerge from it and are, like, kind of duplicating people on Earth. And with that, like, this huge cube of a bizarro planet is
approaching Earth.
And Superman has to go thwart it off. So he eventually does, and that spurts off a Bizarro 2-part issue.
He's left stranded on Bizarro World.
Right. Because it gets, like, sucked into, like, the subverse again.
Yeah.
So now he's stuck there, and there, Superman is, like, losing his powers.
Because there's no sun.
Exactly.
Yes.
And this one takes up 2 issues. It's probably it's my least favorite arcs in the thing. I know you don't agree with me.
I like
we've talked about it before.
It's kind of a challenging read, but I like it for the humor aspect of Superman's in this world full of just incompetent fools. Like, I mean, if you don't know Bizarro is the opposite of Superman.
Right.
Superman's good, Bizarro's bad. Everything Bizarro says is opposite.
Yeah.
So reading his dialogue
is a chore.
Yes. But you don't have to really... I mean, you can skim the dialogue, and essentially they're all just speaking gibberish.
Yeah, exactly. And it shows, like, a reverse Justice League in this as well, as where the Flash moves like 2 inches a minute or whatever it is. There was, like...
My favorite character of this is Zabaro.
Oh, the Bizarro?
The Bizarro. Because if Superman exists on his world and the Bizarro is the opposite of Superman, then on Bizarro world there should be an opposite of Bizarro, which is Zabaro, who's a fully intelligent, capable person trapped in this land of idiots, and all he wants is to, like, share his poetry and talk to somebody and have a meaningful conversation.
Before he goes absolutely crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when Superman shows up, he's just, like, over the moon for someone to talk to. It's so funny at the very end. Yeah. They're about to blast off, and Zabaro's like, "So Superman, what'd you think of my poetry?"
Yeah, I see there's only room for one on there.
Yeah. It's like, "Oh, you're not bringing me along." And he's like, "So what'd you think of my poetry?" And Superman, and you're like, "Oh, God." And Superman is like, "I really appreciate
this guy."
No, he's in typical great Superman go-getter fashion, booster fashion. He's like, "You know what? I really enjoyed it. I think you have to keep writing and share your experiences." Like, he's had all this on his mind, but somewhere along the way, he took the time to read this guy's poetry. Just speaks volumes of how great the Superman is in every aspect. It's like, amazing. There's not a negative bone in his body.
Yep.
And how they end up getting him to back to Earth.
Yeah.
He essentially just, like, insults one of the Bizarros, and he throws the rocket off the planet, and it somehow, like, gets warped back to Earth.
Right.
Who likes the match? Is it Zabaro?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they're gonna light a match for the rocket, and Zabaro's so happy about Superman enjoying his poetry, and he gets so worked up that he blows it out.
It's so funny too, because the Bizarro Flash is the one carrying the match, and it's slowly just burning down the stick, and he's like, "Here you go."
Yeah. See, it's fun.
It is fun, issue. But like,
it probably didn't need to be 2 issues.
No, I agree with that. The Pa Kent one is like almost it is a flashback to where he's like Superboy, and these 3 mysterious men come to the Kent farm, and you don't really know anything about them, and then like something weird, extraordinary, the Chronivore shows up in Smallville.
Like a time-eating monster.
Yeah, and then it turns out that all these people that went to the Kent farm are future Supermen. Mm-hmm. And one is like a Mr. Mixicleplict one.
I've never been able to... I've never
That's
tried
just
to
a
pronounce
guess.
that.
That's just a guess. Another is the unknown Superman of like 4500 AD.
And he's wrapped in gauze.
Yeah, and then...
Looks like the Invisible Man.
And then the other one is just like a future Superman, Cal Kent, I think his name is.
Who he goes back to in his DC 1 million omnibus.
Yeah. And so they end up saving the day, and it's actually a really touching story, because this is the story that Pa Kent has a heart attack, and while this is happening, the Superboy at this point is like fighting the Chronivore, and if you touch him, 3 minutes will pass every time you touch him, and in those 3 minutes that one touched him, Superboy missed his dad dying, and so like
who wouldn't want to watch that?
And so what you find out is that the unknown Superman of 4500 AD is that Superman going back to the past to go actually talk to his dad right before he dies.
Have one final moment with his dad.
And it's like one of the most heartwarming issues ever. Mm-hmm. But I like the two Kryptonians part. Are you having a good hard time with that beer there?
I'm bringing it to climax with every drink, apparently. Jesus.
I like the Kryptonians part because they're like just Kryptonian like astronauts that like were out on a voyage when Krypton exploded, and just as that bottle is exploding, all
this is out of control. Is this like a prank beer?
It's a real deal.
What do I do with it? Do I drink it? We're watching the bubbles dissolve now, and so are you.
But anyway, these Kryptonians are like they come to Earth while Superman is away in Bizarro World, and they pretty much reform all of Metropolis and a good chunk of the Earth to like what they would want a new Metropolis to be.
Yeah, they're just assholes.
Yeah. And with that, they get the powers of Superman and everything, but that ends up being their downfall because they didn't have the time to grow up with the yellow sunlight. So it ends up being just a hindrance to them. Yeah, it's killing them. Just like it's
kind of killing him.
Killing him, yeah. So what happens is, like, while they're busy dying, he finds a way to
get busy living.
And, like, help the Kandorians by putting him on, like, I think he puts them on no, he doesn't put them on Mars. That's a different story.
No, they do. They put the Kandorians on Mars, and he puts the Kryptonians in the negative zone.
In the Phantom
Zone.
Whoa.
Wrong universe.
And so they can be like the guardians of the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, and that's great.
Yeah.
Because the Phantom Zone is the prison for all the, like, the prisoners of Krypton.
All the shits.
And, like, he puts them in there, and they're just like, all right, let's do it. You know, they're going to be the police of that area. And that's pretty much that whole issue. Mm-hmm. From there, it goes on to more of like the huge plot thread that goes throughout the book with Lex Luthor. So he is in jail, and this is undrinkable right now.
So Lex Luthor's in jail, and he's on death row. And once he gets to death row, he gets fried, but he has a last meal, and all he wants is this cocktail that he's concocted. That Lois Lane drank in an earlier issue, where he gives him Superman's powers for a day. Mm-hmm. And that was his last meal, essentially. And so when they flip the switch on him and shock the shit out of him, he gets right back up, and it's pretty much like Marv in Sin City's like, is that all you got? And then, like, laser beams everybody in there to death. And then he goes pretty much on his rampage.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's good. Lex Luthor is really good in this.
Yeah.
There's a previous issue where he's in prison and Clark Kent is interviewing him. And he's just... Luthor is so fucking full of himself and so sure that if Superman didn't show up, Luthor would be running the world. And, like, Superman made everyone weak and he's stealing his thunder.
Yep.
And, you know, Clark is just kind of playing along with him, but he's like, why don't you just... you know, try to do something good, Lex, instead of hating on Superman all the time. Like, less doomsday devices, more improving humanity. Yeah. But, like, Luthor is so, you know, tunnel vision on Superman is the reason I'm unsuccessful.
Yeah.
That it's all he cares about. And it's, he's such a prick, but he's so good. He's so fun to read.
Oh, yeah, it's super fun. And you find out there that, like, his body's completely hairless. This is like a weird aside. He's not just bald. Like, he goes and he's sweating and he, like, rubs his head. And
he rubbed his eyebrow off, so later he draws it back on.
And so he's like, Clark later on the issue is like, Lex, your eyebrow. And so he turns around and draws on this crazy curled eyebrow.
The way I picture that character portrayed, if it was in live action, is... Julian McMahon from Nip Tuck, who plays Christian Troy.
Oh, yeah?
Is Lex Luthor. Like, just picture him with the shaved head and just
narcissistic.
How full of himself and so sure about everything he does. Like, that is that Lex Luthor.
I love that. That's good.
Yep. So let's bring this to a head here.
Sure. So, in the head of this book, like, Superman and Lex Luthor eventually come to blows, and Superman... is weakened by this
everything.
Like, this whole trials he's been through already, and this, like, cancer that's eating him up. And so, like, he doesn't stand a chance at this point for Lex Luthor. Not only that, but he just fought Solaris, the Tyrant's son. But, so he hits Lex Luthor with a gravity gun, and using science, Grant Morrison has, like, concocted this thing, like, the more gravity that hits you, the more time passes. And so, like, this long 24-hour period that Lex Luthor had has been shortened to just a few hours.
So he's losing his powers.
And he's losing his powers. And right when he's losing them, Grant Morrison, like, made Superman even more, of a godly figure. It's like, because he can see, like, the electromagnetic spectrum and atoms in the air, and Lex Luthor is finally realizing this in his, like, moment of glory, and just stops fighting, and is like, this is how Superman sees everything?
Yes.
Like, I see how everything fits together
Everything's interconnected. Yeah. We're all together in this.
Yeah.
Like, it's the fully actualized awakening.
Yeah.
Where he's about to deliver the killing blow, and he's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I get
We're all one.
And
it's beautiful. Like, he starts crying.
Yeah.
And it's like, what a way to defeat Lex Luthor.
Oh,
just, like, show him the power of love. You know?
And it's, with all that's just sums it up. It's like, Superman is the best character ever.
He is.
And, like, I'm not a huge Superman fan, but I'm a huge fan of All-Star Superman.
Yes.
Oh my
huge
God.
fan of Grant Morrison's take on Superman.
It's just so emotionally well thought out, and it's just an amazing story, and it all wraps up for him just being an even better person than he started out being. So overall, All-Star Superman is an amazing read. If you're not a fan of Superman, it doesn't matter. Pick this book up. It might change your mind.
You'll be a fan of this book.
Yeah.
Other Superman titles, who's to say? But this one, this is it's my favorite Superman story. I think it's probably your favorite,
my favorite
too.
as well.
And I've read some other ones that are good, but this is just heads and tails. Like, it's its own thing. It pulls from past stories, but it's not in continuity, really. It's just...
Yeah. And it makes it fun because it is out of continuity, but it uses continuity in such a great way that if you want to go back and find out where...
Continuity is a weapon.
Yeah, and if you want to find out where all these little things that Morrison pulled from, you can find them in issues. Because even at the end where Superman is in the sun just fixing it, like, that's from a far-off story.
Side note, Superman fixes the sun.
That's from, like,
for a while.
Like a Legion of Superheroes story where Superman is just in the sun. Like,
yeah.
It's like...
just pulling the gears.
Even, like,
that big crank.
The last panel is from another panel, like, in an old previous story.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good panel. It's almost like tear-jerking seeing him, just this golden god up there in the sun for, like, 80,000 years.
Yeah.
Just, like, gotta fix the sun, guys.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm not up here, this thing's going... It's gonna go to shit.
Boom,
like,
it's
I'm
going
sorry,
out.
I'm gonna be in the sun for a while.
So, to wrap it all up, All-Star Superman, we can't praise it enough. It's one of Morrison's best works, in my opinion. It's one of the best Superman works, in my opinion. But let us know down below what you thought of All-Star Superman, whether you watched the animated feature, whether you read the comic, whether you just listened to us talk about it. Let us know. So, join us next time when we do Earth 1 Wonder Woman, a brand new story from Grant Morrison that's been in the works for a while.
Long while.
And so, join us next week where we review that.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time, stay classy.
Stay super.
Oh, I wish I would have went with that.
I mean, you're dressed for it.
Amazing. This has been IMPERIUS REX. Check it out next week.